This is JP Music.
So good up, boy.
Purchase your tracks
You
today.
know, you 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 know. So good up, boy. You know, you know, you know, you know, you know, you know.
All right, all right. Thank you for everybody for tuning in to Straight from the Horse's Mouth. I'm honored to have one of the, I believe, in my opinion, one of the best recruiters in the country on the show today. He comes from Benedictine College in Kansas, and he has helped them turn their program to a powerhouse. And if you don't know about Benedictine, you need to look them up. Several All-Americans. They just hosted a pro day there. They got athletes really getting out. And this he's the son of a legend in San Diego. His dad's a coaching legend at Mission Hills High School. And this guy's just been able to take that baton and just run with it. Coach Aaron Hauser, please welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, Montel. Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to get this thing rolling for sure.
Absolutely, man. And I just want to give you your flowers, man. I think you're one of the few guys that I've known. We've known each other for several years, and I've known your father. Me following high school sports. I've seen you always consistently reach back for the talent in San Diego County per se, and being able to provide an avenue for these young men to be able to have an opportunity out there in Benedictine. And this is the crazy part, and this is what I want to pick. This is my first question I really want to ask you. How are you doing it? Because you are out recruiting D2s consistently in Benedictine, which is the NAIA school for those that don't know. So this is going to be a two-part question. I want you to explain to the people out there the difference between NCAA and NAIA, and then I want you to explain how you are able to land these guys in you guys' program over some of the Division II and maybe Division I AA programs that are out there.
Yeah, no, that's a great question right out the cuff there. I think to answer you first off, the difference between NAIA and NCAA is kind of unique. When I was coming up out of high school, I didn't know anything about the NAIA level. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Montel, but I think that there's an NAIA school opening football up in Northern California, right?
Yeah, Simpson University, yes.
Yeah, but other than that, and that's a newer program. The farthest west that you could play NAIA football was typically Phoenix. I mean, there's some up in the Pacific Northwest, but for us SoCal guys, it was typically Phoenix, with Arizona Christian and Ottawa, Arizona. So it was kind of one of those deals where, NAIA wasn't something that was on a lot of kids' radar, nor was it on mine. The NAIA is unique because it's a scholarship level. It's very similar to Division II. We operate slightly differently financially than D2 does, but I think the best way to maybe compare it would be, most NAIA schools are private schools, so the cost is a little bit more than most D2 schools. Now there are, private D2 schools as well, but typically NAIA schools are private schools, so we have to put quite a bit of money on these kids from a scholarship standpoint in order for them to have an opportunity to come play at these schools. And in today's world of football, with the trickle-down effect of the portal and the roster cutting happening at the higher levels and things, it just seems that there's more and more talent, right, Montel, kind of going to these different levels. I think a lot of kids, when they come out and see our program and see our stuff, they go, oh, wow, this is the real deal with these one for sure.
Yep.
So kind of like son in Montana Tech, and we got a lot of respect for that program as well up there and what they're doing. So, I mean, and I'm sure your son would say the same thing. I mean, there's some cats flying around that field that, how did he end up here? He might ask himself. But yeah, so the NAIA, it's unique. It's not part of the NCAA tree, but if you were to compare it, I would say it's the top NAIA teams are definitely very, very good Division II schools. And the academics at the NAIA schools are a lot like a lot of maybe the D3s in Southern California, but it's going to be a lot. The football is scholarship, so you're going to get a lot more kids that can afford to get out there. So you're going to have maybe a roster that's a little bit different than some of the D3s that are local, if that makes sense. So, anyways, yeah, so that's the difference. But, and you talk about how are we doing it? So last year, Montel, on our roster, we finished number 3 in the country. We lost in Florida in the national semifinals, unfortunately. thought we could have got it done. And we had 65 athletes on our roster from Southern California last year.
Yep.
That's something that I'm really proud of. And that doesn't mean that we don't have, like, our school is about 30 to 40 minutes north of the Kansas City airport. So
Mm.
we're going to still recruit, locally first, and then we're going to move to areas where we have connections to find guys that can help us win national championships, which is our goal. I'm old school like my dad is, man. My dad being the only high school head coach at Mission Hills in its history since 2004. I'm about relationships, man. So
Mhm.
to me, it's about connecting not only with gentlemen like yourself that's trying to help these kids get out, but also just really connecting with all the local high school coaches.
Yeah.
And I don't just recruit, and you know this, I don't just recruit San Diego. I do get up into the IE and Orange County and
Mhm.
LA and the deserts and even Ventura County. And we've recruited Bakersfield. I got a receiver from Bakersfield right now. So at our level, we've in a sense almost picketed fenced Southern California. If we want a kid from SoCal, we have a pretty good chance of getting him. That said, to me, Montel, it's about what do these kids really want? It's about having those conversations, man. I'm not gonna chase kids that don't want to leave Southern California, and because I get it, because I'm a SoCal kid, So
Mhm.
if I'm talking to a kid and he's like, I'm gonna stay home and go to the JUCO route, or I'm not trying to leave, like I respect it, but it is what it is. So it's really about overlooking at everything, identifying kids that you think can help you, and then identifying kids that actually have an interest in leaving and doing something like Benedictine, and then going from there. And we don't sign a single kid from California unless they visit, not one.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
every single kid that we have has visited our campus, and so
Which,
that's
by the way,
incredible.
pause is amazing. I don't know. It's not what no one expects, right? They think
Right?
small school, all those things. The campus is amazing, beautiful. Right on, you got. I think that's the river that's right by. I don't know if I put
Yeah,
the name of it, but there's a river right by campus.
yeah,
Beautiful layout. I think kids from California, and I'm going to focus on California kids, and I'll say Arizona kids as well, and Las Vegas kids as well, because I know those are somewhat on you guys' radar. It's funny the preconceived notion of what they think it may be, and also coaches, right? Because they're a big influence. They don't know what it is. They just go by what they think it may be. Oh, that's a small school. You don't know.
right.
I think you're right. They need to visit the campus and get wowed to understand
Yeah.
the dynamics that you guys have and the facilities you guys have and what you guys are offering as a program, as a school. I think it's overlooked, man. I think that's why from a lot of NAIA schools, which I'm a very big component and fan of. I think NAIA provides a different opportunity for these kids and a different world for these kids if they would just give it a chance. To your point.
No, no doubt, and you're spot on. And I joke with the kids all the time. My blood is like these kids' blood. I mean, I grew up going to the pier in Oceanside. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
so I can really speak that language, and I'm not gonna BS these kids. I'm gonna let them know, like, hey, this is the pros and this is the cons, right? This is what
Mm-hmm.
these great things about our school. These are the things that are gonna be really different for you. Does it match up with who you are as an individual, as a person, as an athlete, your values? And if it does, then let's go win some ball games. I don't try to sell them on, hey, you can do this. No, I'm going to tell them, like, hey, now, just because we had 65 Cali kids on our roster last year doesn't mean it's the right fit for Montel Allen. It just means
Yep.
that Montel Allen's probably going to fit in our program if you feel like this is where you want to go, and kind of just using more of that approach, and being open. Because you're right, it's a beautiful campus, 150 acres. The president's put over $200 million into the campus facilities over the last 20 years. There's a $40 million library
Mm-hmm.
that was just rolling on the screen that's going to be finished next spring. I mean, the the investment of a true campus feel is incredible, but it's not San Diego, man. It's not America's
Yeah.
finest city.
No, there's
It's a,
nowhere like San Diego.
no, it's
So
not. And so I get that. You know what I mean?
I'm a pivot a little bit, and I know you've heard these murmurs as well. Coaches do not like recruiting San Diego because those kids always leave. or a majority of them will leave because they're not used to either the weather or the climate or just the surroundings is completely different. I don't know how you guys have been able to overcome that, because that is a big deal for a lot of coaches. They'll recruit certain kids, like you said. We already know the preconceived notion of San Diego kids, and they need to hear from a coach, not just from me. Hear from a coach. Why is that, and how have you guys as a staff been able to overcome that? I know you said transparency is one, and being very honest, but you guys are doing something. You got to be doing something that's got 65 kids on roster.
So that's a great question, Montel, and I think that there's a lot of ways to go about that. I think a lot of that, the answer to that depends on the school that you're specifically talking about doing the recruiting. I think that something that does help is having California guys on your roster, or excuse me, on your coaching staff, to be able to navigate it. But there is this stigma of Southern California kids that life's good, beach, bikinis, golf, surf. But you and I know that that's not the reality. I think about Californians, I think about the cost of living and the traffic and the cost of, and I just think about how many kids actually do want to go see something different and how vast it is. I mean, to me, there's so many kids that do want to leave and try something different. You just got to be able to do the homework behind them. I believe that California kids can be successful leaving if they know what they're getting into and making sure that things check out. Things I always ask is, how much do you love football, man? You know what I mean? Because I love football, you love football, that's why we're doing it. But that's a big deal. Do you love football just for clicks, or do you love football because it's who you are? And you like to compete and be on a roster and develop and all these things. And is education important to you? Is growing in life as a man and as an athlete, are those things that are important to you? And if they are, then this is a school that might start to open up their mind a little bit to look at it. But if they're not thinking like that, then you're right. That's when kids will bounce. And we've had kids come back home for sure. We're not going to percent by any means. I mean, Montel, we've had kids come to us, play for us, and then decide they don't like it, come back home and go to junior college, and then call us again and say, I messed up, I want to come back. Like, we've had that. And I'm not saying that junior college is not the right avenue by any means, but we've had that happen. And then we've also had kids come and go to junior college, and then they get on a different path. And it's not my job I don't see it as my job to tell these kids what's best for them. My job is to present what I'm about, what our program's about, because that's what I'm representing. And then if they want to be here and do this, do everything in my power to bring the best out of them. And really, when you think about Southern California as a whole, you think about San Diego, you think about the IE in Orange County and LA and all these different areas within our bubble. There's more people, Montel, in the IE than there is in the state of Kansas.
Yes.
I mean, so by just recruiting the IE, I'm recruiting more than some school in Kansas is recruiting if they're only recruiting the state. You know what I mean? So that right there, and then you look at the talent and the diversity that we have between the different types of programs, different types of kids. I mean, I was a minority on my high school team when I was at Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I grew up like that. And then when you look at the opportunities that exist for kids nowadays in Southern California to play ball, it's really difficult right now.
Yes.
The junior college is really doing a good job right now with that ruling of the eligibility thing, which I'm still not 100% sure of what's going to go on with that. But the junior college has kind of been the back seat, I feel like, the last 5 years or so in recruiting, and now they're resurging, which I think is great for those programs. Then you have D3s where, as you know, some of those schools are really beautiful and academically so strong, but there's only a certain percentage of kids that can actually do that financially. And then,
yes,
in San Diego, I kind of bundle them up with those D3s because it's a similar situation in terms of cost. And then you got D1, and those guys are cutting their rosters
Yeah.
down. And so
Yeah.
when you think about it, if you love football, man, at the end of the day, the inevitable deal is if you're going to play in college, 95% of these kids, they're going to leave SoCal. It's just a
Yes.
matter now, where are you going to end up? And I think sometimes Cali kids think like, I want to go to the mountains or the beach or do this and do that. But if they're going to get scholarship and have an opportunity to play, that might not be the reality for them. They're going to have to go somewhere where they're wanted, you know? And
Yeah, and that's funny you say that because I echo those same sentiments all the time to these kids and to their
yeah,
parents. And sometimes it falls on deaf's ear, right? You know, I told somebody the other day, I wish kids would chase degrees like they try to chase D1. They
no,
chase degrees like they chase D1s. It would be a
well,
lot better place for everybody to be able to become professionals in whatever they wanted to in life.
yeah,
Because we already know there's a window of football. And I always tell kids there's a certain window of football. It expires for everybody. Even the green ones, it expires. What are you going to
right.
do after that? Because football's a small part of your life. Even if you did 10 years in the NFL, it ends. And now when you're only at that age 32, you got another 50
Yeah,
years to go. What are you going to do? So you got to
yeah,
be able to manage that part. And I think for those that don't make it to the NFL, don't make it to the professional level, the degree is very, very important because it gets you at least a gateway into the workforce at a decent paying job. And we don't look at that long game anymore. Everybody's looking for the short game. I want to be in the
yeah,
NFL. I want to go JUCO to see if I can become Division 1, which I think on the broader spectrum, the ideology of developing a player is no longer at the Division 1 level, and it's going to be obsolete at the JUCO level because JUCOs
yeah,
are going to get the guys that are ready to go get out now.
yeah,
That's what they're concentrating on. It's not concentrating on making you a better player. That's something you have to do on your own, and very, very few can do that. I still
yeah,
believe that the NAIA level and D2 level are can develop you to become that great player. In Division 3, we already know that's more academia per se in people that are financially set, just to give them opportunity to play more. Not saying they're not good players there, but it's a
yeah,
different kind of mindset when you go to Division 3 to go there and play. So listen, I'm very transparent. Like you said, 90. I even say 90% of the players in San Diego, in California, are not Division 1 quality players. They're not. You're not a Division 1
right.
player. You're more of a Division 2 NAIA player. Now, the dream to go to JUCO to try to make yourself one, that's not a reality. If you're a Division 2 player coming out of high school, you're typically going to be a Division 2 kind of player when you're finished with JUCO. It's the way it is. It's usually they got to do with your physical appearance, maybe some of your skill set, or maybe you just don't have what it takes to be at that level as far as from an athletic standpoint. So I've always been trying to shift that paradigm, right? Take the best opportunity for you and maximize it. But you've done a great job of recruiting. I just don't understand why it's not being transmitted everywhere, and especially within our youth and their parents. How come that mind shift hasn't chased? Let's chase the degree instead of chasing the D1.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And, I don't think that's at the fault of the parents, though. I think that it's hard now because of how many things are changing in college football, just
Mhm.
as a whole. I talk with high school coaches and even some high school guys that have been around for a long time. Even they're a little bit out of the loop right now because of just the changes that are continuously happening, right? Like the 105 rule, the roster cutting that's happening. I
Yeah.
mean, when this takes shape here, I can't predict the future, right? I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know, but it's going to happen in the spring. They have to report 105. And
Yep.
so, University of whatever has 140 kids. I mean, so you're telling me on paper, it's telling me that 35 kids are about to be cut from that program. What does that mean? We're going to all find this out together, right? And what are
Hmm.
these kids going to do? Are they going to go back to junior college? Are they going to enter the portal? Are they going to say, screw it, I want to stay here and join a frat because I want to be part of this university?
Well, you know what's funny? How that, like you said, and that's the unknown, right? No one knows how it's going to trickle out. But I
Yeah,
try to tell a lot of, especially kids coming from high school that have opportunities to go play NAIA or Division 2, like you
yeah,
should go take that opportunity instead of trying to do this because you're right. The downfall is those 35 kids that got cut that still want to play. They're going down to J. A lot of them are going to go to JC. If they can't find another home anywhere, so they're going to go to JC.
yeah.
Guess
Try
what?
again. Yeah,
A A junior college coach is going to take that Division I fallback and let him play because he feels he has more experience than the kid that's coming out of high school. It's just the way it is. You take the person that has more experience, right? Because they make your
Yeah.
program run smooth. That being said, D2 for a lot of these kids is going to be a burden, right? It's good, and you're going to end up being there longer than you need to be. You know that gray shirt rule, then you go the red shirt rule, then you hopefully play, and then you get chance. That's 4 years at a JC when you could have earned your degree at a 4-year university, and you just
Right.
completing your AA at that point. So I think there needs to be a shift in mindset, and I have a damn time trying to do it and explain it to people, but people, like you said, it's not my job, right? My job is to give you the information, and then you make a sound decision based on that
Yeah.
information.
But and Montel, like I'm not sitting here. I'm not gonna sit here, right, and just say that like nobody should go to junior college, of course. You know what I mean?
No,
Because
I'm not saying that at all.
yeah,
No.
yeah, because like there's a lot of kids that maybe financially it's not good for them to go to Kansas
Yeah.
City right now. Oh, and so when I'm talking to kids, and yeah, it makes sense to stay home and do that for a couple more years. And then there's some honest conversations, right? You've already touched on that. The position groups that I feel like and I think this is maybe good for the podcast, but I feel like maybe the position groups that have a better chance of getting out to the higher level at a JUCO are the linemen with the frames.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's typically what I see is when there's a 6'4" plus, 6'3" maybe type of kid that maybe was a little underdeveloped in high school or maybe still kind of getting rid of some baby fat. And then maybe he gets to JUCO and, he plays at Mesa and starts there for 2 years and has good tape. And then all of a sudden somebody needs an extra lineman, right? Like I
Yeah.
see that um, quite a bit. I think that I'm a wide receivers coach. I think that the skill guy's kind of a dime a dozen a little bit more. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just a lot more human beings walking on this planet Earth that look like receivers versus Division I offensive linemen.
Absolutely.
And
I agree with
so
you 1,000%. The D linemen are. You're right. O and D linemen are that sweet spot, right, for them to
yeah,
be able to take a guy, go down and go to the next level. It's
yeah,
interesting though. We're talking about this is like the portal has 19,000 kids in it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so there's not 19,000 positions in football available.
No, it's
So
yeah,
where do we go? In your opinion, where do we go from here? Because programs are shutting down, right? We got programs shutting down. We got a few that are trying to reopen. But as far as a kid making that decision to say, hey, you know what, I don't want to be at Benedictine no more, I'm going to go enter the portal. I
yeah.
don't think they're making a sound decision sometimes before executing their exit because now there's really nowhere to go. You're going to be one of 19,000 kids in the portal trying to find a home.
And I think it kind of goes back to one of the things that we've talked about, like something that we've talked about, and I've heard this at the convention and talking to different coaches, is just developing your whole room. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I, like that's a like the four guys that we just had a pro day with. They spent their entire career with Benedictine. They were recruited there, school, and stuck there. And they're about, some of them have the degrees, a couple of them are on their way to get their degree. And a lot of coaches now, I think, are talking a lot more about developing the whole room versus maybe just their hot shots because of that.
Yeah.
But again, it's a hard conversation, I think, because I don't have the answers to some of those things, and some of us are going along for the ride and just trying to do right by the kids. Is how I look at it. My approach is I'm gonna love. My head coach says this all the time. We're gonna love and serve others first, and so my job is to wake up in the morning and try to help my kids. And when you invest in building relationships with your athletes and the guys that you get to work with and spend all day with, I think that's how programs can grow and develop. And I think what kids need to understand nowadays coming up out of high school is what really are they looking for? What's the end game? Kind of what you're talking about, Montel, and um, is it to just bounce around, transfer? I mean, I remember, 10 years ago when schools would come recruit high schools and a kid had been to three different high schools, and that was a red flag.
Yes,
Now
exactly.
matter as much, you know.
Yeah, it's normal. That's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, you know, but now it's like, you know, to me, I just have to have those conversations with the kids, man. I think that the biggest answer to everything is not this overbearing umbrella ideology as much as it is you really getting to know these kids. And if there's a young man that's getting recruited by any school that doesn't have a Division I title, these kids, they got to figure out what the deal is, right? I mean,
Hmm.
the, like those RMAC schools we are just talking about, like Western Colorado and
Yep.
Pueblo and Mines and Mesa, Colorado Mesa. I mean, there's so many really good D2 schools in Colorado right there, right?
Yep.
And does that fit the kid or not? I don't know. I have no idea. Do they know the difference between Adams State and Western Colorado? Because there's a huge difference. And do they know
Hmm.
it? Yeah. What's the difference between a Benedictine and a Morningside? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Your typical kid at Madison High School in San Diego doesn't know that answer, but you know, because it's not Ohio State and Alabama. You
Exactly.
know,
Exactly. Yeah.
so by being more keen to learning and seeing things and having those conversations. I mean, is it a transfer heavy roster, right? These young men need to look at these rosters. Where's the previous schools at? Is it a transfer school, or are they
Hmm.
developing high school? You know, it's like, what's the graduation rate? Do they have your major? What's the location like? You
Yeah.
know, where's the kids on the roster from? And you asked me from the beginning, how do we retain all these Cali kids? Well, one of the easiest answers, and it's cliche to say, is just win damn football games.
Yeah.
You know,
It,
winning solves a lot of problems, man. You know,
it
if
does.
you're if
It
you're
does. It does.
winning,
You're absolutely right. We could talk about that for hours, but you're right.
yeah,
It solves programs, and that's a great transition to what you guys what I want to go into now is about the school Benedictine and how you
mhm,
guys have been able to become successful. And I'm going to say a budding powerhouse in the last 4 years, right?
yeah,
Last 4 years, it's been a different ball game at Benedictine where you guys are mentioning the same as the Grand Views in the Morningsides and the Northwesterns and the Kaisers
mhm,
now. And you guys are scheduling wise, where it used to be cross pollinate between programs such as yourselves in Division twos and Division One AA. Well, those schools don't want to play you guys no more. They're like, we're not taking a chance on playing it and taking the L from you guys no more. Tell me how that transition has happened and how impactful has it been from the recruiting standpoint?
Well, Montel, it's unique, man. So I got here. This will be a cool story for you, I think. I got to Benedictine in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent 2 years I coached underneath my father at Mission Hills for 4 or 5 years, and then went to a small school in Iowa and worked up there for a couple of years, and then found myself at Benedictine during COVID. Um,
Yep.
Former head coach Montel hired me, Larry Wilcox. Coach Wilcox was the head coach here for over 40 years at Benedictine.
Okay.
So unheard of, right? Just in terms of the stability.
Yeah.
Um, he had gotten to the national championship but never won it. Campus at Benedictine doesn't look like most NAIA schools. And that's not me saying that to promote our school. It's just when I was interviewing there and I walked around our campus, I thought, oh my goodness, the Cali kids can do it here. And
Yeah.
that's where my value is, like, can I recruit California to the school or not? Because there are some schools don't that really shouldn't recruit Cali kids, you know, just based off
Yeah.
of location. They're 3 hours from an airport, or there's nothing.
Waldorf.
Anyway,
Waldorf is a hard place to recruit California kids. So
yes.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So just in comparison,
So
not knocking the program, just in comparison to what you're saying. Absolutely.
yeah. Sorry. So anyways, so I got there during 2020, and
Mhm.
what I did, which was uncommon, was well, first off, my head coach retired. Okay, so the head coach that hired me, he retired right after the 2020 season, and we played Montel. So because we're not part of the NCAA umbrella, we were able to play during the fall. Okay,
Okay.
so our kids technically got eligibility back, but since they had played, they were getting their degrees, they were ready to go. So we were like ready to go recruit. Like, let's get this thing rolling. And
Mhm.
so my first recruiting cycle there, I did something that nobody else did at the time. because the NCAA schools weren't playing, especially the D2s and lower. Um, I flew to Cali during the lockdown. And when I wasn't, maybe I shouldn't be saying this on the podcast, but when I wasn't supposed to do that, I did it. I was meeting with kids on park benches and sidewalks because I couldn't get into the schools, number one. Number two, I couldn't get into a Starbucks. Jacob Gathright, I met him on a bench right next to the Oceanside Pier in the sand. That's where I had my recruiting talk with him. You know, during the shut, these kids, they didn't know if they were going to have a senior year yet. Now they ended up getting some games in the spring, but this was all during the winter for that. And so what I did is we were able to sign, it was probably about 20 kids, 25 maybe, from Southern California, from programs that matter, right? So like from programs that have value in different areas, okay? And so, in San Diego, for example, we signed a kid from Lincoln, Madison, Cathedral Catholic, El Camino, Mission Hills, Helix, right? Like, oh yeah, okay. He got kids from the programs that have some face value, right? And how does he do that? Well, you got to be from there, right? And then Coach Owens, Coach Jackson, Coach Doyle, right? Like talking to these guys and like, hey, this kid, he wants to leave. He's not gonna have a chance. Boom, boom, boom. So all of a sudden, and I did that in LA, and I did that in Orange County, and I did that in IE. And then what it did, Montel, is it created that pipeline for our program. Okay. Yes. And when I interviewed at Benedictine, I saw it as an opportunity to try and go win a national title, right? Like it hasn't been done yet. What can we do to maybe try to get over that hump? Well, the former head coach had retired, and then a new head coach, Coach Joel Osborne, came in. Well, Coach Joel Osborne was the offensive coordinator at a school called Northwest Missouri State, which is it's an MI. Yeah, there he is on the top left. It's a MIAA school, which is one of the really good D2 conferences, and powerhouse, he's won. Yeah, big time powerhouse. So he came in. And because of that, you can kind of see even in those photos right there, the youth of the staff. And there's some changes too. There's some changes to that staff even, but so that might not be fully updated. But we went from kind of, guys that have been there for 50, 40, 30 years to now guys that are like me. You know what I mean? And I think that relationship with the kids and just kind of modernizing some things has really helped us. And we've won the conference championship the last 3 years in our conference. Made a really good run this year. I mean, we had a 17-point lead with 7 minutes left against Kaiser, man, in the semis, who hadn't won again, who had in 2 years. And anyways, so we let that one slip, but we're knocking on the door. We got an opportunity. So we finished the regular season, I think it was 9-2. Beat Morningside, beat Baker, MNU got us, and Grandview got us. And then playoffs says I think it was a 9 seed is what we got in as, which we felt like if we could have been higher than that. If we hadn't slipped up to MNU late in the year, who's a really good program in the Kansas City area, who has had a history of California kids over the years. So we had a first round bye, and then we went down to Texas, to Dallas, and played a school called Texas Wesleyan, who was undefeated. And it was kind of cool for me, man. We brought a bunch of California kids down to Texas, and took care of it. You know what I mean? And then came back up. We played down there like one of those gigantic high school stadiums in Texas.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So got it done, came back, and then a few days later had to take off to Indiana to go play in the cold and go play a team called Indiana Wesleyan. So now all of a sudden it was time for our Cali boys to roll the sleeves up. You know what I mean? And we went out there and we got it done in a cold, windy game. Took care of them. They were 11-1. Beat them 20-9. And then came back to school again, and then a couple days later jumped on a charter flight down to Florida, down to West Palm Beach in Florida. So Kaiser got us. And so if we had won that, we would have been in Raleigh for the national title against Grandview in our own conference. So, um, I mean, what an experience, right? But like for some of
Yeah.
these kids that think it's a small little rinky dink deal, but when you got a great facility like us, and we're really we're 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, depending on how fast you drive from the Kansas City airport, which
Mhm.
is a major city, and that helps a lot. If we weren't in that location, it would be more difficult, I think. And then, like we said before, if you're winning, homesickness is harder to overcome you when you're winning, because homesickness does come.
Yeah.
It's gonna come here and there, and if you're there though, and we're winning ball games, and you feel like this is a special time to be here, then I think that really helps. So it's been a blast. We've still got more work to do. We've got to replace. We graduate, I think, 30 seniors, man.
Oh
So I
wow.
mean, which is unheard of in college football nowadays. To actually be
Yes.
graduating guys. So we're a little bit old school, Montel, in all those things. Like we're still gonna value the development, the degree. We do class in person here. We don't do online classes. I mean, our
Mhm.
kids are going to class, and the academics here are really strong. The Wall Street Journal named Benedictine number 6 in the top 10 colleges in America. And
Yeah.
that's not through just academics, but that's student life and everything. There's a faith aspect to the school. It's a Catholic school. I'm not Catholic myself. I'm not.
Mhm.
And so what's great about how we approach it is, hey, we're just looking for good people, good players, and good students. And
Mhm.
the faith part is there. They're not gonna shove it down your throat, but also it's gonna be there for kids that, as you know, there is a connection between the man upstairs and the game of football. So I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that helps as well for some kids. And so yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot of things, I think, well, but golly, it's competitive, man. I mean, there are some teams out there that are just so good. And I mean, our schedule, we open with Morningside, and then Grandview, and then Graceland. Those are three top, 15
Yeah.
teams right out of the gate. I mean, we're gonna know where we're at before, we catch our
Nah, I think, man,
so.
I think you guys have done a wonderful, wonderful job, man, just all around. And I believe the one good thing though I like that I've seen is that whole area, the Iowa, the Nebraska, and the Kansas area has just flurried
Yeah,
in NAIA football. I mean, it's just, it's just taking its own, it's taking a brand and really, really elevated the talent and the skill set and the winning. Because like you said, from the, the Domes who are upcoming program, the Kansas Westlands who are good, the Dorts who's starting to establish themselves as a good program, you guys,
yeah,
Morningside, mid Nazarene is right there. Friends University came up this year. They've had a good program. All these schools that
mhm,
kids in California really never heard of. These are prominent, thriving football programs that are playing some really good ball. And it's to the
yeah,
testament because now you guys are starting to have pro day. It's starting to now become elevate to that next level where pro days are starting to become really prevalent in that area because there is very, very, very good football that are there. And like I said, I know for a fact schools are avoiding you guys at the Division 1 AA because they in Division 2 because they don't want a chance of taking that loss, right? Just like schools avoiding North Dakota State, powerhouse schools don't want
oh
to play North Dakota State just in
yeah,
case. So I think it's the kind of the same effect that you guys are going through. Um, and it's just man, it's just one a testament to you for the team because I think you brought in so much talent there, rich talent that's been able to, be sustainable, get there and graduate. I mean, I'm more happy that you just told me 30 seniors are graduating. That's bigger than 30 seniors going all American to me
yeah.
because I think at the next level in life, they're already a step ahead, right? They're already a step ahead, and that's just not banking on football to make ends meet. Um, Man, I appreciate this conversation, Coach. Man, it's been long overdue. I know you. Every time we get on the recruiting season, I'm always hitting you up, but we cross paths at the All Star game and all that stuff, man. But I just really wanted to say, man, thank you so much for what you do, for the kids in San Diego. Your dad, always big up your dad. He's always doing an
Yeah.
amazing job, in Mission Hills. But I mean, I think you're taking the legacy to another level, man. You're doing some really good stuff out there.
No, I appreciate it, man. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll see where this journey ends up leading me in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Trying trying to be patient with it and just try to do right by my family first, and and make sure that everything's good on the home front, and see what can come of this. But and I think that I first off, I really appreciate everything that you do for these kids and all the stuff that you do. Just you have a passion for it, man. Right? You have a passion for it, for helping these kids, and you might not realize it, but for some of these kids, I mean, that's probably a big time. One of the biggest highlights of their playing career is getting to play in your bowl game, and maybe taking some visits because you were able to network them with some college coaches that and maybe even that kid didn't end up going on going to that school, but that might have been a highlight of you know,
Yeah.
of their young career. You know what I mean? And so sometimes
Right.
those are the hidden, that, and I think that at the end of the day, man, like that's why we do it, right? And that's, to me, it's like, I don't know what else I would do. I don't think I'm really that good at anything else other than, you know, um, at least that's what my wife seems to think. But, um, I love the kids, man. I still love developing players,
Yeah.
like that's the high school roots in me, is like, I
Mhm.
enjoy watching the kids grow within a scheme, grow within the weight room, grow into men, and thinking about, how they came in as freshmen to like how they end up. And I think that, to your point, that's getting harder to come by now at the higher levels.
Mhm.
So for me, I feel like, depending on what kid you're talking to and what kid is looking for to play college football, you can find good places. There's so many out there. They just gotta open up their mind a little bit, and like your son at Montana Tech. I mean, what a great area of the country, and what
Mhm.
a like trending right now like this. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yep.
why would a kid not want to go to Montana and go play ball up there for your son right now? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
I,
agree. Yeah.
that,
I mean,
like, it
I
makes
think a
that.
lot of the programs like you guys are part of, there's a lot that are like that. Kids just gotta, like you said, open their mind. Parents need to open their mind and give peace a chance, right? Just to kind of go see it and really understand. And also, I think what you said, have that honest conversation with yourself. Like you really
Yeah,
need to have an honest conversation. I'm a 5'8", 165-pound running back. Probably not going to go to the NFL, right? I'm probably not going to the NFL, and D1s are probably not going to be knocking down my door unless I'm running a 4-3. And if that's not the
right.
case, I can still have an opportunity to go play 4 more years of football at a detour in NAIA school, still get a scholarship to help to ease the burden of the cost, and play ball for 4 more years, and then see where the
Yeah,
chips make from there, because you might
yeah,
develop to that 5'9", 190-pound running back while you're
yeah.
there,
You guys, yeah,
because
no
people are
doubt.
gonna develop you and get you coached right and get you going right, and then have some success. And let's have a little, a little sense of loyalty, right? Your program is ever be able to establish that. Have a little bit of loyalty to the program to see where it goes, and be able
Yeah,
to overcome the adversity that you face coming out of high school to for university, because it's gonna be, like you said, it's gonna be that transition period, homesick, learning time management, understanding just the law of
yeah,
the land, and so on and so on. We got to really kids got to really open their eyes to it, because as many as you guys land, and I so appreciate it, I always remember the ones that miss, and then trying to figure out where they landed, and especially if they're not successful in this journey, is really, I take it to heart. Me personally, I do take it to heart. And
right.
I want to see more kids be successful and have these roads of success, like Jacob and like Isaac,
Yeah,
like Bloomhurst, all those guys,
yeah,
man, just
yeah,
really good, successful stories, man, that I wish people need to really, just look at their journey. Their journey is just as important as the Reggie Bushes, in my opinion. Their journey is
right.
just as important as the Terrell Davises. They may not have got the chance to play in the league, but they're now professionals at something, man, and they're going to really be able to live life to its fullest business because of the opportunity you gave them at Benedictine. So thank you so much. I salute that, for real.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? There's no doubt.
Yep.
There's no,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so one last thing too is like, and we kind of talked about this earlier, but and I just think this is a big one too. Is these kids, they need to go visit schools. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And hopefully, I know that you push that a lot with these guys, and I think that that's important for maybe me to stay on here. Whether it's Benedictine or whomever, if a school is showing interest in you and you have the ability to get out there and go see them, they got to do that. They got to go put their feet
Yep.
on this, I mean, we do it in the winter. You know what I mean? It's a little different in
Yeah.
the winter here than in
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
in Coronado Island. But you know, I think that that's a big thing. You know, especially like these kids that a lot of kids kind of like near the to their recruiting. Maybe at the February's kind of window,
Hmm.
the end of January. So I think they start to get sometimes a little bit down on themselves.
Hmm.
I know it's hard for kids that are maybe in a class of 26 to even think that far ahead yet, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I agree.
they
I agree.
they get themselves right. Like Sac State never ended up calling me. They said they would, and
Yeah.
then so and so Colorado Pueblo was on me, but then they went a different route. So now all of a sudden, like, all right, screw it, I'm just gonna go to Palomar. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a wrong thing to do, but it all it all kind of comes full circle of just like, hey, go where you're wanted. If there is a school that's a legit school that's winning ball games and doing things the right way, and they're knocking down your front door and bothering the crap out of you, I mean, it's probably worth trying to go see because you only get the opportunity once to do this as a senior. And
Absolutely.
that
Yeah. I agree.
I taught these kids a lot about that, man. Right? Listen, the junior college is there, man. There's no signing date. You can go there.
Exactly. You can go there You can go there the day before practice starts and get on the team.
You can. You can.
You can't. I always tell kids you got to take advantage of opportunities that are presented to you and treat
Yeah.
that coach and that team, that program that's after you, just like it is a D1. Because it kills me when kids say, "Oh, I don't want to go to Benedictine. It's in Kansas. It's too far." But yet, if Kansas State offered you, you would go blind and wouldn't even think about it twice. You would sign a letter of intent without anything. So
Right.
since you're not at Kansas State level, so don't tell me that distance or it's too far is the issue, because it's not the issue. The issue is just because you're fearing the unknown. You don't understand what Benedictine is all about. What's their mission statement? What their program is about? Without giving it the chance to go meet with you, see the campus, and have those honest conversations to say if this is is this the best fit. And it's not just Benedictine; it's all these smaller schools across the country.
Yeah.
They're going through the
Yeah.
same thing. But our kids, and I can only speak to Southern California, so California kids in general, they limit themselves when they say no. Don't limit yourself. Keep all your opportunities there because, like you said, JC's going to be there. That's going to be there no matter what. Go see these other schools and see if this is a perfect fit for you, because I say go be an All-American in NAIA if you're that great. And if you are that great and becoming an All-American in NAIA, you get a pro day. You get an opportunity to get a pro day like some of these other guys. So it's the opportunity is there. You just got to maximize your chances,
No doubt.
which is great.
Yeah.
Coach,
Yeah.
from high level, explain how kids can get in contact with you. What's the best way to get in contact with you if they want to come to Benedictine? What should they do? Class 26 and 27. Sell us. You got 2 minutes before we wrap up. Sell the school for me. Go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. So what these kiddos need to do, coach, they got to get on my Twitter. I'm Coach_Hauser. So it's just Coach Hauser right there with the underscore. Okay. They can DM me on there, but I have a link for a questionnaire that's on my profile. That is extremely important for these young men to fill out. I know a lot. I say that we use the Orange software, which means that we have a pretty advanced, evaluation project that we do. So, for example, Coach Montel, if there is so if you go to, let me see if it's on there. Click on that Benedictine right there, Benedictine.edu, see what that does. No, that's not it. I'll put it on there. I'll update it and put it on there. But I can update it so they can see it. They can always DM me as well. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
when a kid, so just real quick, you said I got a couple minutes. If a kid is an offensive lineman from Southern California and he does the questionnaire for Benedictine and puts his stuff in there, I will be the first one to look at his information because I recruit Southern California. If I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the kid matches what we're looking for, height, weight, GPA, tape, okay, the tangible stuff, height, weight, GPA, tape. If all that stuff looks good, I will send it to our O-line coach. Then the O-line coach is going to get it. From there, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to evaluate the tape and say, this guy's either a down the road guy or we need to get on this guy right now. Or this guy's not fit for us. So then from there, pushes the kid through. Then it goes to our offensive coordinator. And the offensive coordinator We'll sit down and look at all the offensive linemen in a pool one day. We'll all sit there together. We'll do that. And then if you get through that stage, then your tape gets to the head football coach. If your tape gets to the head football coach, now all of a sudden he's a decision maker. Hey, Coach Hauser, everybody likes this. The OC likes this guy. The O-line coach likes this guy. You like this guy. Now you need to touch base with their head football coach at the high school level and make sure, right, that there's no red flags and everything checks out. And then that's how this whole thing rolls. And then all of a sudden it might turn into an offer, it might turn into a visit, it might turn into the next thing. So it's really important to get into our system, or to do it. All young men listening to this, do those questionnaires when the coaches ask you to do it. If you don't do that, I'm just moving on, dog. I am moving on to somebody else that will, because I'm going to out hustle my opponents. That's how I do it. So if I'm trying to get this kid from, I'll use my dad's program. If I'm trying to use a kid from Mission Hills that my dad's telling me, and he doesn't have 5 minutes to do a questionnaire for me, and I've sent it to him 4 or 5 times, I'm done with that kid. I'm moving on to somebody else. Because again, the population in Southern California is so vast, if I can do that. You know what I mean? I'll just, all right, fine. I'm going over to Costa, going over to Carlsbad, I'm going whatever, and then you times that by 1,000 schools. You know, I mean, that's what you're up against. That's what you're up against. So do it, man. And don't just, that's not Northern Arizona, so I'm not going to fill out that questionnaire. Like, no, get in our system. So we have you. And then we'll go from there. I mean, that's a big deal. Then you got to stay in communications with us, and we'll, good schools stay in communication with you, and you'll know. I mean, you'll know if the school wants you or not. I mean, it's don't chase schools that aren't hitting you back, man. You know, I mean,
I tell them that all the time, Coach. All the time. They're not showing you no love, man. It's time to move on to somebody else and figure out something else. Because
it's like that. You gotta, if you're going after the same girl over and over again, but her friend's just as cute, man. Like sometimes you just gotta.
I like that analogy. I like that. Coach, thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. I will hit you up. I will hit you up. But man, I just really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. This is gonna be chopped up and shared with everybody, because I think they need to understand who Benedictine is, especially around Southern California, where we can get the word out so that population even grows. But man,
for sure, I appreciate you, Montel. Thank you for having me on here. It's been a blast talking with you, chopping it up, man. Good luck with
man. Absolutely. I'll see you this season, man. I'll be hitting you up for sure.
All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Stress.